It's been almost an entire year since the launch of Zenless Zone Zero, and Season 2 is right around the corner. Season 1 came with its highs and its lows, and the Zenless team has experimented with a couple of things here and there. Some of those things stuck, while others were never seen again.
Alright, we're in the hollow.
Some were hits, and some were misses. There was a heavy focus on the TV mode puzzle gameplay during the early days, and now it's almost completely gone, for better or for worse. Every single agent that dropped was an absolute unit, and fit all of my aesthetic preferences, so much so that it made pulling agents very difficult. I regrettably skipped Qingyi and lost my 50-50s for both Jane and Lighter, 3 agents I still wish I had. Besides Qingyi, I tried to pull for every unit, at least up until version 1.7. Don't get me wrong, I like Vivian's design, but she looks more like a Honkai Star Rail character to me than a ZZZ agent. As for Hugo, although I think his fighting style is incredible and that his scythe is cool, get it? Because he's ice element? He wasn't for me. So instead, I'm gonna try to pull Jane and Lighter this version 1.7. All in all, the game itself has evolved, especially when version 1.4 hit. Many called it a soft relaunching of the game. And of course, this was the patch where Miyabi launched, and Harumasa was given out for free. I imagine this is the highlight of Season 1 for most players. So today, I wanted to talk about the future of ZZZ, some of the things that I would like to see the devs implement into the game, and hopefully, how the game can avoid falling into ruin. By the way, my name is Haku, welcome to my channel, where we play games for fun, just like it should be. There will be multiple parts to this video, and as usual, there will be timestamps, so you can skip over to the parts that interest you. First, I will talk about my experience playing ZZZ up to version 1.7 and some of my thoughts behind it. I'll try to keep that portion as short as I possibly can. Next will be a short disclaimer, or statement if you will, on why I think constructive criticism is ultimately good for Hoyo and the ZZZ dev team. Lastly, I will talk about changes, fixes, features, etc., big and small, that I would like to see implemented into the game, hopefully sometime in Season 2. So, let's get started. I've been playing Zenless Zone Zero every day since launch day. The gacha games I was playing up until initial launch were Goddess of Victory Nikkei, Brown Dust 2, and Honkai Star Rail. And regarding the latter, at the time, I was really on my last legs with HSR. It would not be long after the release of ZZZ when I would quit HSR altogether. Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to YouTuber Cat with Blue Hat for his Features and Changes series of videos on Zenless. They really helped me out in remembering things from the previous versions. Please don't forget to subscribe to Cat with Blue Hat. I went into the game with both excitement and low expectations. Excitement because I had liked all that I had seen in the marketing leading up to the game's release, and low expectations because of, well, Honkai Star Rail. Version 1.0 left a good impression on me. The opening scene was very strong, showcasing its cartoony animation style, comic book storytelling panels, and great voice acting.
I'm pissed! As this station's reporter, I can't listen to this anymore! Those criminals need to get... As soon as we find them, we should just get them all, and then them again!
I was completely taken by the gameplay with its opening tutorial. Combat felt smooth, and hits felt satisfying with great sound effects and music.
Bye to nice Nicole! That's one frenzied ethereal. Watch out! Who cares? Just hand over my stuff!
Chain attacks looked awesome, and ultimate transitions looked amazing.
Locked on target. Time to wrap things up!
Starlight, shine bright!
It was very basic, but also quite enjoyable. It was flashy and great eye candy. The combat made me feel like I was doing something very cool, even if I was just pressing one button. I remember a lot of people complaining about TV mode during the betas, so going in, I was a bit nervous that it would ruin the experience entirely for me. But after trying it out, I thought it wasn't so bad. It wasn't perfect by any means, but I'm sure it was an improvement over the betas. The flow of gameplay wasn't very seamless, often transitioning from TV mode to combat, to TV mode to combat, to a lot of TV mode to very little combat, so on and so forth. The only time I truly hated TV mode was during the Prophecy exploration quest. On the upside, it was all TV mode, so there was no combat to break the flow of gameplay, but on the downside, it was far too long. I remember telling myself about an hour into the quest that I wanted to play ZZZ for its combat, but here I am, playing an hours-long TV quest, while all the combat quests last anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes at a time. It didn't sit well with me. I thought version 1 was a great experience at launch, despite all of the issues that needed ironing out. The grind for Interlude levels and playing the standard banner agent stories was an overall positive experience, with Neko Miyamana being my favorite agent story.
She's just one girl! Take her out! Watch out! Get out!
In version 1.1, they added selfie mode features and filters to the camera. We saw our first round of ENVA changes, namely for Lucy and Sokaku. You now had the option to select avatars for agents you already owned, and Mindscape banners for agents M3 and up. Manual mode for chain attacks was added, a very welcome change. With the addition of Ching-Yi, Jane, and Seth, Hoyo teased being able to walk around New Eridu as agents within your roster. Disputed node was added to Shield defense for the first time, quite the challenge at the time. Improvements were made to Hollow Zero, with my favorite being more Z merit rewards, and Infernal Reap was added for the first time. N.E.P.S was added as a new map location. Lastly, there were a whole slew of great UI, quality of life adjustments, and TV mode improvements, too numerous to go over one by one. This was a step in the right direction. Being able to walk around as Jane was enjoyable, and it was a sight to behold. However, I must admit that I was extremely disappointed that Phaethon had no involvement in undercover R&B.
Wow, that rat tyrant girl sure has that riz.
I was still in the process of building my agents and teams, so the Shield defense challenges at the time were quite difficult for me, but provided a fun challenge and a goal to strive towards achieving. The improvements to TV mode were a welcome change, and it made farming for Z merits in Hollow Zero a tad less tedious, but still boring nonetheless. TV mode itself, however, though slightly improved, still felt unrefined. For Infernal Reap, I could barely make a dent into it at the time, but again, it provided me a goal to strive towards. Overall, this was a huge improvement over 1.0, and the future of Zenless was looking bright. In version 1.2, the Zenless team decided to significantly reduce the number of TV mode quests, starting with removing it completely from the main story. Regardless, TV mode still received great quality of life updates, like speeding up the animations and allowing Fairy to auto-explore incomplete exploration quests. With the addition of Caesar and Bernice, you now had the option to walk New Eridu streets as them. Backup battery charge was finally added. Cough Cafe's Tin Master Special now gives 80 battery instead of 60 and no longer charges Denny's. Another great change is being able to freely change your time of day as many times as you want. My favorite addition in this version is the option for squad loadouts. Ambush node was added to Shield defense, and further improvements were made to Hollow Zero with the new Blitz Withering Garden mode, which completely removes the need to play the TV mode gameplay. The maximum license level was increased to 90 from 60, and the Logistics Outpost now offers reserved relics for Agent Core skill upgrades. Notorious Hunt allowed you to continue past the 3 battle limit to receive more rewards in exchange for battery. A new mode in HIA was added called the Investigator Training Course. Our first set of new disk drives were introduced in the form of Chaos Jazz and Protopunk. the fan-favorite arcade minigame, Bizarre Brigade, was added for the first time. New enemies were added from the Vanquishers faction, and Blazewood was added as a new location. Version 1.2 was and still is my favorite patch so far. I thought the TV mode improvements and the reduction of it was a step in the right direction. Having said that, I did not wish for its near complete removal from the game, only for improvements to make it a smoother and less egregious experience. Fairy's autoclear was an excellent option for those exploration quests you no longer wanted to repeat. Regarding the backup battery charge improvements, those were honestly things that I believe should have been in the game since launch day. Honkai Star Rail already had it, so I saw no reason why the ZZZ team would hold it back. To introduce it into 1.2 like it's an all-new, never-before-seen feature left a bad taste in my mouth. But it's better late than never, and at the very least, it did indeed come sooner rather than later. Blitz Withering Garden was an excellent addition, and it provided a seamless experience for Hollow Zero and grinding Z merits. Ambush mode was too difficult for me to complete at the time, but I worked hard to conquer it. Bizarre Brigade was a fun and great way to kill time, and possibly earn some polychrome on the side. The story was entertaining, and I thought the Sons of Caledon were real badasses, where Caesar solidified herself to be one of my absolute favorite characters.
I have arrived!
Still the best faction in my opinion. Getting to interact with Billy again was a joy, the funeral scene was hilarious, the bond between Phaethon and the Sons of Caledon felt organic, and the Vanquishers felt like a real threat.
A new order in this leaderless outer ring! A kingdom completely under my control!
The only blemish was how short and unimpressive the motorcycle minigame was. I had high hopes for this mode, but it came and went so fast. I had hoped that they would keep adding to it, but to this day, it has seen no updates.
Warning. Dangerous buildings above the road ahead.
Past them!
In version 1.3, Hoyo responded to the backlash on Miyabi's face model by fixing it with an update. Sokaku saw yet another change to her ENVA. More titles and badges were added to your Interlude profile. The infamous, at least for me it is, mystery of the arpeggio fault was added in this version. The exciting simulated battle trial was added for the first time, which would provide a challenge for the player's understanding of the game's combat. Yanagi and Lighter were added into the game as the latest S-rank agents. Lighter, in particular, had his own mode that was reminiscent of old-school beat-em-up style fighting games like Final Fight. Sanzed received his own shop in Lumina Square, where you can buy merchandise to display in your bedroom. Hand HQ was added as a new location as well. Lastly, there were numerous UI changes and quality of life improvements to upgrading agents, disk drives, W engines, so on and so forth. 1.3 felt like a much smaller update compared to 1.2. Miyabi's model was a much needed facelift, giving her a much softer and feminine look. TV mode came back in the form of the arpeggio fault. I do not want TV mode to disappear completely from this game, but whenever they do try to implement it, it always takes far too long. If this was much shorter, I would have had a more favorable opinion of it. Battle Trial was one of the best things that happened to this game, if you ask me. As you can see, I've spent a considerable amount of time playing this mode. Now that there are no more rewards for me to receive from playing Battle Trial, I just play it when I want to kill time, or when I feel like playing ZZZ and there's nothing else to do. Yanagi's story was a great introduction to Hollow Special Operations Section 6, and Lighter's story was a great addition to the story of the Sons of Caledon, where they cemented themselves as the best in the outer ring. Version 1.4 was the highlight of Season 1. Here we finally get the long-awaited Void Hunter, Hoshimi Miyabi, as well as a free S-rank agent in Asaba Harumasa. We also got new disc drives, Branch and Blade Song, and Astral Voice. With their release came an onslaught of rewards, events, and ran for a whopping 5 weeks, giving players more than ample enough time to pull for Miyabi and her W engine. They also faded characters out from certain angles if you tried to view them that way. This was removed almost immediately, and Hoyo compensated everyone with 300 polychromes, which was hilarious.
It's not funny, Ed. Hey, shut up!
For the first time, we can play as Eous in place of TV mode exploration, which was adorable. Finally, each agent now has their own decibel count, and we can now unleash ultimates from 3 agents during battle. Completing each chapter now gives you rewards, including 1 EMT per completed chapter. You can now use any agent within your roster to walk around New Eridu. New quality time features with your agents see you walking around with them around the city, doing various activities with voice dialogue. Shield Defense introduced the new Quick Sweep feature, automatically rewarding you with the spoils of up to Node 3 depending on how well you did last season. Hollow Zero's latest and greatest improvement was introduced in the form of Lost Void. This also saw agents like Miyabi, Yanagi, Ellen, and Billy have all new movesets, exclusive to this new mode. You can also earn Victoria housekeeping coupons in Lost Void. These coupons will allow you to instantly claim drive disc rewards in routine cleanup. Another new mode that will put players to the test debuted in this patch in the form of Deadly Assault. Hamster cages can now be purchased in the logistics shop. The new event Into That Pale Wasteland brought additional story to Section 6 and involved combat that included Yanagi and Miyabi's Lost Void movesets, as well as platforming sections using Eous. Port Elpis and Reverb Arena were added as new locations. As usual, there were tons of quality of life updates and UI changes. We also saw many updates to animations, effects, and graphical settings, some exclusive to the PlayStation 5, like ray tracing. There's so much to unpack here. I definitely loved version 1.4. There were so many improvements that made it feel like a soft relaunch of the title. Getting Harumasa for free was a huge improvement to my account, regardless of already having Yanagi. The fact that it ran for 5 weeks allowed me to take my time. I was able to pull Miyabi, her W engine, and Harumasa's W engine in that time. I could have pulled an M1 Miyabi, but I lost the 50-50.
Would you care to say that one more time?
No.
That's how many pulls you can get through rewards and events alone. Being able to play as Eous was an excellent idea, and definitely added to the game's charm. The improvement to the decibel system was incredible. Not only does it allow you to launch all 3 agents' ultimates, support agents saw huge buffs thanks to this change, and it saw their value skyrocket. Admittedly, this change should have been there since day 1.
You all go flying! I can also become an Asura!
Hollow Zero Lost Void is currently my second favorite mode next to Battle Trial Tower. Farming Z merits has never been this enjoyable. The new movesets, especially for Ellen, were insane. I hope they get implemented into normal gameplay sometime down the road. Deadly Assault was challenging at first, but I learned that as long as the agents in your teams are at least level 60, W engines at level 60, skills at least level 7, core passives are up to F, drive discs at level 15, and decent execution, you will obtain at least 20,000 points, giving you all the spoils. The story also reached its highest point in 1.4. The pacing was excellent, and the payoff at the very end was extremely satisfying. However, the experience was somewhat ruined by the missing voices of Coletta, Rina, Grace, and Lycon. This was a huge mystery at the time, with many questions and frustrations in the months leading to 1.7. The situation behind these missing voices now makes more sense, with all the much needed information finally coming to light. For more info on this topic, please see Mujin's video, How Entitled Voice Actors Ruined a 268-Day Strike Overnight, the SAG-AFTRA video game strike. version 1.5 launched during Chinese New Year time. This would see the game take a break from the main story for a bit, in celebration of Chinese New Year. The agents introduced in this version are Astra Yao and Evelyn Chevalier. This would also be the first time we would see skins come into the game. We've got 3 new skins, one for Astra, one for Ellen, and one for Nicole. You can now set 5 dynamic wallpapers for your main menu. We also got a Bang Boo Fall Guys mode, which ended up being extremely popular. We got a fishing minigame, which was my personal favorite addition to 1.5. A photo mode side quest was added as a time-limited event. Improvements were made to Notorious Hunt by removing the first wave of enemies, going straight into the boss fight instead, saving much time and effort. A new addition to Battle Trial was added in the form of Last Stand, providing even more challenge for those seeking to test their skills. Star Loop Tower was added as a new location. As usual, they added even more UI and quality of life improvements. Going into 1.5, I knew that the story would be filler, so I kept my expectations low. I knew there was no way that they would immediately be able to top 1.4's story. But I have to admit, even if it was filler, I enjoyed it, and I thought it was alright. There is one thing, however. I noticed that Fairy was completely absent from 1.5's story. While Fairy was also very much absent from 1.4, there was a reason for it. Fairy was taken offline due to external interference, but Fairy would be reactivated by the end of the chapter. No reason was given for Fairy's absence in 1.5.
Something's off. This is not a network attack. It's targeting our store's electrical system and the HDD itself?
Hey guys, Editing Haku here. I just realized while recording footage for this video that Fairy was indeed present during the beginning and ending of version 1.5's main story. When I was writing this script, I really had no recollection of Fairy's presence during 1.5. Fairy's impact on the story was so minuscule that I just couldn't remember. Anyways, just wanted to correct that information. Back to the video. With Astra's addition, she became my most used agent out of my entire roster. She's on almost every team, even more so than Miyabi. The skins not only provide a new look, but also provide new voice lines.
Take a deep breath. The spotlight's about to shine.
Ellen's Spade skin should have been free in my opinion. We've seen her in the streets of New Eridu wearing her school uniform. I think they could have designed an entirely new skin for Ellen, make that a paid skin, and then make the school uniform free as an event reward for finishing her agent story. But alas, it is what it is. Nicole's own looked great too, and it did come completely free. The Bang Boo Fall Guys event was incredibly fun, and it's crazy to me that Hoyo added a multiplayer feature to this event. Fishing minigames are usually a lot of fun, and I'm happy to say that I did enjoy N.E.P.S Ultimate Angler and would go on to complete it beyond the event rewards. More Battle Trial was added, which was great news for me.
Mind and body.
My blade is ready.
Version 1.6 would be the first time we would see an A-rank agent get an S-rank version. Soldier Zero N.E.P. and Trigger of Obo Squad were added into the game. We also got a new agent in Pulchra and is the latest A-rank agent since Seth. Lycon and Soldier 11 would finally be voiced with new ENVAs. Burnout was added to Expert Challenge, where you can get double the rewards for double the battery. We got new disk drive sets again, Shadow Harmony and Phaeton's Melody. Hollow Zero Lost Void was expanded further with a new Geppetto boss fight, and new moves for agents Astra, Evelyn, Jane, and Corin. Again, exclusive to the Hollow Zero Lost Void mode. Trigger received her own special target practice minigame reminiscent of Nikkei. As usual, there were quality of life improvements, UI adjustments, animation fixes, and a new PC setting. I had high hopes for 1.6, especially since N.E.P. is one of my favorite characters. I was disappointed that both Soldier Zero N.E.P. and Trigger were relegated to agent stories, while the main story focused on agents Vivian and Hugo, who were not yet released at the time. S0 N.E.P. and Trigger's involvement within the main story were sparse. You could remove them entirely from it, and not a lot will change. I was even more disappointed with the agent stories themselves. I was extremely excited for S0 N.E.P. in particular, especially since there was so much mystery in regards to her connection with Soldier 11. For the first part of S0 N.E.P.'s agent story, you take control of Trigger. For the second part, you take control of A-Rank N.E.P. and Trigger. This second part was a little long, and you played through it as A-Rank N.E.P. I was holding my breath in anticipation, hoping I'd finally get to play S0 N.E.P. But it wouldn't be until the third and final part of S0 N.E.P.'s agent story when you would finally get to play as her. And that portion of the story just went by like that. I started skipping cutscenes and dialogue at the beginning of that third part out of frustration. The payoff wasn't even worth it. With Soldier 11 having this whole memory problem and N.E.P. just being okay with Soldier 11's memory, reverting back to how it was when she believed N.E.P. was a traitor. She's just okay with it because Soldier 11 is supposedly strong enough to live with hatred. She thinks it's good.
She still hates that traitor N.E.P.
That's wonderful.
Wonderful.
Hurrien's a way stronger person than me. Strong enough to keep living with hatred. That's powerful. I don't know what to say. All I know for sure is the target of her hatred is me. And that's good.
Living with hatred in your heart is not powerful. That is not the way to live. If anything, it's stagnating. You will never be able to move on and become stronger as a result if you are frozen in time. What was the whole point of this agent story? There's no reconciliation, there's no closure, there's no healing. We've reverted back to the status quo. What are we even doing here? Soldier 11 is right. N.E.P. is a coward.
N.E.P. Turns out you're not a traitor at all. You're a coward.
And it made me dislike N.E.P. as a character. I had already pulled S0 N.E.P. at this time, but if I could, I would like to remove her from my roster and get a refund on my polychromes. I would say that Twiggy was actually the saving grace and main character of S0 N.E.P.'s agent story.
There's one thing you're wrong about. I've already done it. I've achieved the conditions for rebuilding my very own Silver Squad.
As for Trigger's agent story, honestly, I skipped through most of it. I'm going to be honest with you, it was a yap fest. It was starting to feel lazy and artificially drawn out, kinda like a certain other Hoyo game. I can't say much about the main story. Honestly, I was upset it wasn't about S0 N.E.P. or Oboe Squad. I tuned most of it out and started skipping when the yap fest started yapping. Fairy is once again absent from 1.6. Ultimately, I think 1.6 was a horrible patch, and I felt like Hoyo really disrespected Oboe Squad here. A lot of people were really looking forward to more Oboe Squad, but they just got done dirty. Finally, we're caught up with version 1.7. With this version, the entire roster is now fully voiced. Coleta, Rena, and Grace now have new ENVAs. We can now watch that Avengers scene from 1.4 without it looking a little odd.
Good. We can finish up our training for catching suspects quickly. Just like with the monument.
We've got company.
Dismantling crystals is our specialty.
Uninvited guests.
You're not welcome here.
You think Caesar will be okay?
Our only issue is there's not enough to fight. Nicole, I think the ethereals have us surrounded. They're just small fries. We'll handle them.
Okay. I call dibs on the big one.
No. He's my target.
Sorry, but thanks for bringing the chief over.
One last overtime.
Late night snack after work.
Section 6. Mission start.
Okay, so turns out I was wrong. Not everyone is voiced in version 1.7. Everyone but Jane is voiced. Everyone but Jane. Just Jane. We are getting 2 new S-rank agents, once again in Vivian and Hugo. Quality time with agents has been improved, and they have voice lines when you try to take photos of them.
Does my expression look awkward? Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
The Notices UI has received an incredible improvement. This version has received the least amount of quality of life improvements. I've played through the main story, and I still feel that it is quite lazy. The ZZZ team up until 1.6 have shown consistent effort and improvement, so if 1.7 is any indication, complacency may be starting to settle in within the team. I thought Hugo's battle with his inner demon was good. Good, but not great. It was too long. I actually fell asleep somewhere along the way, so it is quite long. This removes the impact of the scene. When the player gets it, the story needs to move along. There's no need to drag it out any longer. The final scene where Vivian dies was actually pretty good in my opinion, but the scene itself and the emotional impact on the player was cheapened by having Vivian revived near instantly.
No! It can't end like this!
We've done this with Caesar and Hugo. It doesn't work. At least with Caesar and Hugo, it was obvious they were still alive. Vivian actually died for a hot minute. Or a hot second in this case. Look, I think that Hoyo should just stop trying to do these death fake-outs. There are other ways to have an emotional and memorable impact on the player without a character death. So just stop killing them off in the story. I'm hoping that starting on version 2.0, we either stop getting these death fake-outs, or we go all the way and actually see an agent die, with honor, in the battlefield. It's one or the other. In the words of Louis Rossman,
if you're gonna be the bitch, be the whole bitch. Ain't no half bitch in here.
Okay, so that portion didn't end up being short in any way whatsoever. I apologize for that. Honestly, that deserved a whole video of its own, but those were indeed just some of my thoughts on all of the versions so far. To go into even greater detail would make it far longer. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about are changes and many other improvements and features I would like to see implemented into ZZZ so that it may improve and possibly avoid falling into mediocrity. But before that, I want to talk about why constructive criticism is necessary and a good thing for Hoyo. For this portion of the video, and for the sake of irony, I will be showing footage of ZZZ on my Asus ROG Ally Z1 Extreme. If you are familiar with the PC gaming scene, you may also be familiar with an incident that took the PC gaming community by storm last year. This incident involves Gamers Nexus and Asus, and it all started with the Asus ROG Ally. In May of 2024, GN posted a video in which Asus attempted to scam them by claiming a nick on the plastic of the device was customer-induced damage, therefore evading a free repair. The device was originally sent in for warranty repair due to a thumbstick problem. Yet the company chose to focus on the small ding on the plastic and tried to charge GN nearly $200 for the repair. That same month, Asus provided a response claiming that they will be performing a full analysis on devices sent in for RMA, and provided a list of available repairs, both free and paid, which ended up being a nothing burger. Asus then rejected an offer from GN for a plan of improvement and directed them to their pathetic excuse for a response. Asus would then ghost GN for a while. GN consulted a lawyer on the issue of consumer rights, and even noted the involvement of the FTC. GN would eventually meet Asus executives in a face-to-face conference at Computex 2024. In that conference video, Steve from Gamers Nexus made a statement on why GN was doing this. He says, The reason why we are doing this and pursuing this so aggressively for the consumer is because Eous is actually the market leader. They do the most volume in a lot of the categories where they occupy. And if Eous improves, we genuinely and firmly believe that all of its competitors will also have to improve. If Eous can set the example here and improve, it will force all of its competition to improve. Whereas, if the smallest one improves, it's easy for the top dog, Eous, to look the other way and ignore it, and hope it never catches on. But if the market leader does, everybody has to, and that, we think, is worth fighting for. By the end of the meeting, regardless of the tension, GN and Eous still managed to make some progress, agree on some things, and agree to disagree on others. The end result of all this mess was Eous making 12 commitments to better improve their RMA and customer services. I hope you understand where I'm getting at. You can take that statement and swap Eous out for HIA and it will still apply. HIA is indeed the market leader in gacha gaming. So before you type out your comment telling me that I'm asking for too much, I want you to know that I'm not asking for too much. I'm simply asking for better, because we deserve better. It's important for everyone to understand that if the market leader improves, everyone else has to improve. That means if HIA decides to set the bar yet again, that means better gacha games for everyone, whether you play HIA games or not. Their improvement is also to your benefit. This is not about attacking or even defending your favorite billion-dollar companies. This is about what's best for the consumer and creating a thriving gacha gaming industry with healthy competition. With that said, let's get started. Let's start off small and save the biggest changes for last. So to start off this list, I want to talk about PC settings. PlayStation 5 already has ray tracing, and the upcoming Xbox Series X and S release of Zenless Zone Zero is also going to have ray tracing. This is also when version 2.0 will drop, so I think this would be a good time to finally let PC users have this option. Another PC setting I would like the ZZ team to consider optimizing and supporting are different aspect ratios. Obviously, the footage you are looking at right now is a 21:9 aspect ratio, and this ratio is fully supported, from the overworld to combat to the menus. 16:9 aspect ratio is also fully supported, as it is the ratio that most players are playing the game on. The aspect ratios that I would like to see get full support are 16:10 and 4:3. To be clear, these aspect ratios only have half support. You can only select these screen sizes if your monitor is either 16:10 or 4:3. Fortunately, I have another handheld PC that I can use to better demonstrate what I'm trying to say. This is my HIA Neo 2. It's got a 7-inch 1920x1200p 16:10 LCD display. As you can see, we're new Eridu outside of combat, and we have full support for this aspect ratio. We also have full support when we're in battle. However, if we try to do something else like say, fishing, we've reverted back to 16:9, and we now have two black bars on the top and bottom. We also lose support when we go into the menus. It doesn't look too bad on the menus where the top and bottom are black, as it is able to blend in, giving the illusion that it's still 16:10. But on the menus that don't, it sticks out like a sore thumb. The same can be said for the 4:3 aspect ratio. Unfortunately, I don't have a device that can properly demonstrate that, but I do have a clip here from Bob Wolfden that does show it.
Zenless Zone Zero actually scales very nice. This square aspect ratio suits it pretty well, just not the menus or the text, which can get pretty small. But I appreciate that some big multi-platform games are designed responsibly like this. Most other Android games are gonna be really small on here and have black bars on the top and bottom.
So obviously, the black bars on the top and bottom stick out more on a 4:3 aspect ratio. But the main reason why I want all these aspect ratios to receive full support, especially 4:3, is because of Zenless Zone Zero's identity with the CRT TVs. It just makes so much sense. If anyone from the HIA dev team happens to watch this video, if you give full support to all of these aspect ratios and allow any PC or Android device regardless of their monitor size, the ability to access these aspect ratios, then I will make Zenless content in 4:3 aspect ratio. You have my word on that. Oh, and while we're at it, add full support for 32:9 as well. There's a mod on Game Banana that enables this, although it seems like it's not perfect based on the screenshots of the menus and the placement of the HUD. So just do it, Hoyo. Just do it. The next thing I want to talk about are UI improvements. As I said at the beginning of this video, I have not missed a single day of ZZZ since launch. That means that from my perspective, I don't see a need to improve the UI further, since I already know where everything is. Be that as it may, I've seen many people call for an improvement to the UI, so I do believe that it is a valid concern, especially if it is keeping players who left the game from returning. Because of this, I don't really have any good ideas on how to improve the UI aside from the shortcut wheel. I currently have 3 empty slots, and it would be redundant to put shortcuts that are already on the upper right hand corner of the screen. So the only 2 shortcuts I could think of adding to the wheel is the 24-hour store and code redemption. During the recent dev talk, Y did mention that they would make improvements to the UI. I'm confident that they will deliver on this promise. Next, I want to talk about a couple of quality of life improvements. Starting off with viewing cutscenes in the video archive. Let's use a cutscene from 1.4 as an example. Let's say I want to view the true scheme. As it stands right now, if I want to view this cutscene, the scene will play out, and instead of returning to the menu, it continues on to the next cutscene until it reaches the end of its portion. So that means if I only want to view the true scheme, I would also have to go through the last 3 cutscenes. You can skip it of course, but it would be much better and it would save a lot of time if we could just be taken straight back to the menu. It's too much of a hassle to have to skip the rest of the scenes you don't want to view. Sticking to the theme of cutscenes, another suggestion I would like to make is allowing us to just automatically skip cutscenes when playing the hard mode version of main storyline quests. We could have an extra toggle on the lower left hand corner where you would normally toggle manual chain attack and trial mode. The third toggle can be used to toggle automatic cutscene skip for, again, hard mode only. It'll be a great option for anyone playing hard mode, whether they want to speed through it or not. The more options and freedom to do what we want, the better.
Take out these ethereals first. Let's go after deep.
The next quality of life improvement I would like to see implemented is quite important to me. This is regarding the final callback. I believe that if we already have the agents in our rosters, then we shouldn't have to be forced to play their tutorials every single patch. I believe we should just receive the rewards automatically provided we have the agents. I am sick and tired of playing the tutorials for all the A-rank agents over and over and over and over and over again. I'm not sure why Hoyo keeps forcing this for their games. It makes no sense to me. Hoyo, if the agent is in our roster, especially if they've been in our roster for nearly a year, rest assured that we know how to play them. Just give us the rewards. I am hoping that this gets changed. Regarding dynamic wallpapers, when the game first launched, you could only have 1 dynamic wallpaper active. Eventually, they would allow for a total of 5 dynamic wallpapers to be displayed at random. This is a great change, but I think that an even better change would be instead to have every dynamic wallpaper turned on by default and rotate through all of them randomly. Then, you can go into the dynamic wallpaper menu and toggle the ones you don't want appearing. That way, you don't have to pick just 5 of your favorites. You can have all of your favorites instead. The last quality of life adjustment I'd like to have isn't really much of a QOL adjustment. I just didn't know where to place it in the video. Anyways, I would like to have an option in the settings to be able to toggle off the parry lights and parry sound effects. At this point in the game, I'm comfortable enough playing without its help. Then of course, once there's a new boss or new enemies, I can toggle it back on until I've learned the timing, then toggle it back off. Again, I'm asking for it to be added as an option, not as a replacement. It'll be great for those of us who want a challenge. Moving on to the next section, I want to talk about improvements to the training room experience. The very obvious improvement needed here are more enemy type options. Add more bosses, if not all of them, so that we can practice and learn the timing of their attacks. Allow us to add at least up to 10 regular enemies at a time, so that we can practice crowd control too. Another great option that can be added to the training room is a quick reset button. Give us a button combination that will allow us to quickly reset all assets in the training room to their default positions. Here is an example of what I mean. In Smash Bros, if you wish to reset to default state, there's a button combination that allows you to do just that. This is an extremely convenient feature. Lastly, allow us to change our agents in the training room without having to exit out of the training room, go into the compendium, swap out some agents, and then go back into the training room. This will make for a seamless experience when experimenting team synergies. This feature is already in most fighting games like Street Fighter 6. Next, I'd like to see some minor improvements to profile customization, starting with the Proxy's Interlude profile. Currently, you can only set one title and 3 badges. But look at all the space on the name card. Why limit it to one title and 3 badges? I say we should be allowed to display 3 titles. As for the badges, right now there are only 4 available badges. That being for Shield Defense, Deadly Assault, and the 2 Battle Tower modes. Surely the Zenless team plans to add more endgame modes. To be safe, since most players are playing on 16:9, I say we should be allowed to display up to 12 badges. I want to be able to display not just my Deadly Assaults and Battle Tower results, but my Shield Defense results too. Let us display our accomplishments in full on our Interlude profiles, Hoyo. Limiting this just makes no sense to me. Currently, you can only display 10 items on your display stand and 16 items on your memory board. Once again, placing a limit on this makes no sense to me. If there's space on the display stand and the memory board for more items, then I should be allowed to place as many items as I want as long as there is space for them. There's still space for 8 more items on the display stand, and the memory board has space for a couple of more pictures and a lot of stickers and pins. Hoyo, what is this obsession you have with putting limits on such simple things? Please fix this, and while you're at it, give us more memory board and shelf designs. There's another small change I would like to see that has to do with the Newsstand, particularly the Newsstand in Lumina Square. I say we should swap out Granny E for another doggo. It doesn't have to be Howl. In fact, it shouldn't be Howl. I propose putting another dog breed in the Lumina Square Newsstand. Perhaps a Corgi or a Retriever or even a Chow Chow. I'm not saying we should get rid of Granny Eve. I'm saying she should be relocated. Perhaps we can give her a new post in the Wi-Fi Peninsula. And if that area is also going to have a newsstand, then I think that another doggo of yet another breed should be stationed there as well. Alright, now we're going to start getting into the much bigger changes, starting with navigation. It's safe to say that with all the locations we have now, that scrolling through that menu to find where you want to go can get a little bit annoying. In the recent dev talk, Y mentioned that they will be improving the navigation system. At the time of writing the script, there are already a couple of leaks out there showing how the system will look like. Obviously, I won't be showing them in this video. If you want to see them, seek it out yourself. It's safe to say that as of right now, it looks kind of rough. But seeing as how it's a leak, things are subject to change. To that end, I'd like to throw my hat into the ring and just say what kind of map design I'd like to see. And to keep it short, I want a map system similar to what Persona 4 has. A bird's eye view of New Eridu City, the Janus Quarter in particular. Then you can scroll through different options. You can see exactly where each location is relative to one another. I'd also like to see some expansions to the current locations we already have. In 6th Street, I want to be able to go inside 404 Error. During the day, it'll be closed, but you should still be able to go inside and there will be no one inside. At night, however, it should be a lively scene. A couple of NPCs hanging out outside, and then there should be a band playing inside and people watching. For the N.E.P.S building, allow us to go inside the back office, and if Ju Yuan, Ching Yi, or Seth don't have any active trust events, show them at their workstations doing paperwork and Qingyi drinking hot water. Similarly with Section 6, if there are no trust events active for Section 6 members, show them either working or lazing about their workstations in Hand HQ. Give us access to the other side of the street in Blazewood. Reopen the second floor of the Starloop Tower and allow Astra and Evelyn to have trust events there. Do something with Reverb Arena. And lastly, I think missing mini cargo truck boxes should refresh every update. Aside from the easy rewards we can get, place them at different places within select locations. The excitement of finding treasure has always been part of the JRPG experience, whether turn-based or action-based. Having the mini cargo boxes refresh every update can bring short bursts of excitement and satisfaction. Next, I want to talk about permanent events. For this section, I only have two in mind. First is the N.E.P.S Ultimate Angler Championship. This fishing minigame is so fun. I believe it should be expanded upon and updated every once in a while. Aside from catching new fish, I think this minigame should give us maybe 5 or 6 ether batteries via fishing whenever it is updated. I'm not gonna lie, when I first fished out that waterlogged ether battery, I had my hopes up. I thought we'd be able to bring it over to Enzo at the remodeling shop to repair it and then we'd be able to use it. I just saw it as a missed opportunity for such a great idea. And of course, when the Waifei Peninsula drops, there should be some new fishing spots there too. The other event I want to talk about is not a permanent event, Camellia Golden Week. This was a fun TV mode event, but the reason why I think events like Camellia Golden Week should be permanent is because this event contains a lot of lore.
Hey guys, Editing Haku here again. Just wanted to say that I might have gotten the lore heavy events mixed up. Not sure if it was Camellia Golden Week or Roaming the Ether, or if it was both. Regardless, the point I'm about to make still stands. Just wanted to clarify that I don't clearly remember which of the two events were lore heavy or if both of them were. Back to the video.
Any events that contain a lot of lore should be kept as a permanent event so that the player can always have access to them in order to better understand the story. No other reason than that. If it's got tons of lore, make it permanent. Alright, now we're going to start talking about gameplay modes. Let's start with some small HIA improvements. We all know how long it takes to fully kit out a single agent in Zenless Zone 0. Thanks to all of my failures and mistakes in Honkai Star Rail, I've managed to take very good care of my account and I've maximized the amount of materials I can get to build my agents. That being said, upgrading agents in this game is extremely expensive. If you're not doing your Z merit farming in Hollow Zero, I'm pretty sure you're suffering from a Denny shortage problem, among other materials. With that in mind, I'd like to propose a level 60 challenge for HIA Combat Simulation and a level 65 challenge for HIA Expert Challenge. Even with those levels, it still shouldn't be anywhere near difficult enough to be a chore, and it should take pretty much the same amount of time to complete a single round. And as for the rewards, just give us a little bit more than what we have right now. It'll help speed things up in the long run, especially during double reward events. Then for the Expert Challenge, give us maybe 6 or 7 core passive materials, 4 to 5 Goldmaster copies, and 2,750 Dennies per run. Again, it'll help speed up the process and make building agents less painful and time consuming in the long run. Next, let's talk about drive disks. Everyone's favorite and most hated part about Hoyo games. Luckily, ZZZ's disk drive system is not as egregious as H.S.O.S. Relic system and Genshin's artifact system, but I still believe it needs to improve a little bit more. Starting off with the Victoria housekeeping coupons, yet another feature that has another senseless limit. Hoyo, just remove the 10 coupon limit and allow us to stockpile these coupons. Or if you must have a limit on these coupons, then make it 50 or 100. The reality is, even with 100 of these coupons, the majority of the disk drives you will get if you cash it all in at once will still be garbage. I know because I once had over 800 Goldmaster copies And when I cashed all of that in, most of them were hot garbage. That's not even taking into account the good pieces you get that turn out to be garbage anyways because all of your rolls go into HP or defense or both. So please, Hoyo, just remove the limits. While we're on the topic of removing limits, regarding the hidden treasures and the outpost logistics, please allow us to stockpile these too. Chances are that we won't even be able to stockpile a large amount anyways because of how long it takes to refresh the outpost logistics. Unless you're using all your batteries in Notorious Hunts, and I don't know anybody who's doing that. Again, Hoyo, remove the limit. It makes no sense. Back to disk drives. Alright, Hoyo. I think I speak for everyone here when I say that it is time to remove flat HP, flat defense, and flat attack substat rows from disk drives. It's about time, and if there was ever a time and a game to start implementing this change, it's now, and it's Zenless Zone 0. For anyone who thinks that this may be asking too much, I want to emphasize that with the removal of flat attack, HP, and defense, you can still get garbage pieces. You absolutely can. The only difference is that the experience of farming disk drives improves further. And if Hoyo implements this change, I guarantee you that every single ZZZ player will be farming disk drives all over again to replace their old pieces. Everyone will be playing the game. I know I would go back and redo it. Hell, I'm still in the process of redoing my sets as we speak. I've been at this since January, and I'm still not done. Hoyo, do right by your players and make it happen. Another change to disk drives I'd like to see is more of a minor annoyance I have with the pairing of two specific disk drives. You can consider this specific portion to be just ramblings of an old man. Anyways, that disk drive pairing would be Woodpecker Electro and Soul Rock. I have not farmed Woodpecker Electro via routine cleanup since version 1.1 if I'm being honest. I've been getting my Woodpecker Electro pieces via the Bardic Needle. This is because I don't want to get Soul Rock pieces when farming for Woodpecker Electro, and I imagine no one else does. It's incredibly annoying how often Soul Rock pops up when farming Tower and Cannon. It doesn't help either that Soul Rock is the most useless disk drive set in the game. Even Ben only wants the 2-piece set. He benefits more from 4-piece Protopunk, or even 4-piece Astro Voice. So if I could make a suggestion for a small change that would make more sense, perhaps we can have Woodpecker Electro run together with Chaos Jazz, and then have Protopunk run together with Soul Rock. It doesn't get rid of Soul Rock entirely, but at least you'd be farming 2 defense sets. And then on the other hand, you'd be farming crits and AP sets. But that's just a minor nitpick of mine, it's nothing to take too seriously, I just wanted to get that out there. The final change I'd like to see to disk drives is the way tuning calibrators work. Currently, there are not enough ways to get more tuning calibrators, and the chances of a disk drive piece using a tuning calibrator getting screwed over by garbage substats is far too high. So in line with my request for the removal of flat HP, defense, and attack substats, I propose that the Zenless team either give us more ways, and I mean more ways, to obtain more tuning calibrators, or you keep it the way it is and just guarantee substats without HP or defense. Keep in mind that even with this change, you can still get a garbage piece depending on where your rolls go. Moving on from disk drives, I want to talk about loadouts. Starting off with team loadouts. Currently, we already have this feature and we have a total of 10 team loadouts. While this number was good for the first half of Season 1, now at version 1.7, I find the need for more team loadouts. Right now I have my best teams occupying each slot, but I also want to be able to put other teams together for when I farm basic materials in HIA or for other modes. So I propose we triple this number for a total of 30 team loadouts. This should be more than enough for a good long while. On the topic of team loadouts, I don't know why, but for some reason, team loadouts are inaccessible in Deadly Assault. I don't see a reason for this. Please allow us to access our team loadouts in Deadly Assault. It shouldn't be that hard. Aside from team loadouts, I think it's about time that we get gear loadouts in Zenless Zone 0. I propose 3 gear loadouts per agent. As it stands, every agent in the game as of right now is able to benefit from at least 2 different 4-piece sets. Others benefit from 3 or more. Supports, for example, are extremely versatile in this game. They can all use 4-piece Swing Jazz and 4-piece Astral Voice. Some of them can use a third 4-piece set. In Nicole's case, she can use 4-piece Freedom Blues. For agents like Yanagi, I'd like to have at least 2 loadouts. One loadout with 4-piece Chaos Jazz, 2-piece Freedom Blues as the main set, and another loadout with 4-piece Thunder Metal, 2-piece Freedom Blues or 2-piece Chaos Jazz for a Yanagi Mono Electric team with Rina and Seth. There's just so much customization and so many different sets agents can make use of for specific teams and specific fights. The potential is there, and the team loadout system should work seamlessly with the gear loadout system. That means whenever you are setting your teams, there should be an option to choose the gear loadout of the agents whenever setting their positions within the team loadout. Again, Hoyo, if there was ever a time and a game, that time is now, and that game is Zenless Zone 0. In version 1.5, there was an event called Click Click Holo Reporter, where the mission was taking photos during combat. Aside from the actual missions itself, where you would be tasked with taking specific photos, there was also a mode called Hyper Focus Shot, where you would be allowed to freely take photos during combat. Honestly, I thought this was slated to become a permanent thing, so I was really disappointed when it was completely removed. I still want to believe it will come back permanently in some form. So I would like to make a suggestion on how we can have a better Hyper Focus Shot mode, if you will. Instead of having photo mode accessible to us at all times during combat, whether that's story quests, event quests, HIA or Scott Outpost modes, I suggest having an option at the end of every fight to save the current run as a replay. Once in replay mode, we should be able to review our combat footage. From there, aside from being able to access photo mode, we should also have options to hide HUD elements, fast forward, rewind, and play it in slow motion. Street Fighter 6 replay mode has similar features. But going back to the photo mode itself, while the current version that Click Click Holo Reporter had was serviceable enough, it needs improvement. The camera needs more camera angles and tilts, and more freedom to move around the environment. But not too much freedom that we're allowed to take the camera all the way out of the map. Just a reasonable amount of freedom. As it stands, the camera is anchored to the center, so it ends up being awkward at times when zooming in. Having this as a permanent feature of ZZZ will not only result in content creators being able to have more freedom and creativity to make thumbnails for their videos, but it will also result in some crazy, highly edited gameplay footage, similar to what you would see from Sunhill Legend.
You shall die! I am the storm that is approaching!
Which is basically free marketing for Hoyo, which can only be good for them.
Somebody's getting fucked! 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 Somebody's getting
With the advent of Season 2, we are now getting a new role and element courtesy of Yi Xuan. At the time of writing, we've yet to know more about the new role and element. And while we're on that topic, I think it's time we added a new element into the game. And I mean for your usual agents, not the special ones like Miyabi or Yi Xuan. While I don't have any idea for a new role, I do think adding in the wind element would be a nice addition. I heard there was a wind element during the ZZZ beta phases, and if that's true, I'd like to see that come back eventually. Aside from a new element, I think it's reasonable to ask the ZZZ team for more A ranks. Luckily, we just received Polka, and soon we're getting Pan Yin Hu. However, I can't shake the feeling that after Pan drops, it will be yet another long wait for the next A rank agent. I actually thought Ju Fufu was going to be an A rank. I'll be honest with you. Her design screams A rank to me, so I'm quite disappointed that she ended up being an S rank. Because of that, I'm going to be skipping her. Would have loved to have her on my team, but not as an S rank agent. So I really think we need more A ranks for team building. It will be especially helpful for free-to-play players. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. During the recent dev talk, Y mentioned that they are working to bring Zenless Zone Zero to more platforms. Currently, you can play the game on PC via the HIA launcher or the Epic Game Store on Windows 10 and 11. You can play it on PlayStation 5, Android, and iOS. By June, we'll be able to play ZZZ on Xbox Series X and S. The Nintendo Switch 2 was recently announced, and I do remember the dev team expressing interest in putting the game on Nintendo's next platform. The Switch 2 is scheduled for release in North America for June of 2025, so I hope the team delivers on their desire to put the game on Switch 2 not long after release. My personal request is to put the game on Steam as well, and then take it a step further by making it Steam Deck verified, so that players running Bazite or SteamOS can play ZZZ on their handheld PCs. If they can do this, then I'm 100% going to install Bazite or SteamOS when it releases on my ROG Ally if the game comes to Steam with support for SteamOS. From version 1 to 1.5, I thought the story of ZZZ was very good, and it got better with each subsequent version. However, I do feel that starting from version 1.6, which wasn't too long ago, the quality has dipped a bit as of late, and signs of laziness and lack of creativity are starting to creep up. This is not a good sign, and I hope they are just saving all their cards for Season 2. Otherwise, this cannot continue. Let's start with the infamous black screen with white text. We've had black screen with white text since version 1, but it certainly wasn't egregious like Honkai Star Rail. But as of 1.6, as I've mentioned earlier in the video, the game is turning into quite the yap fest, and the black screen with white text is starting to become more present. Here's an example from Trigger's agent story. A black screen with a huge wall of white text. I'm not asking Hoyo to lessen the amount of black screen white text, I'm asking for its removal entirely. Instead of telling, show it to us. If you want, you don't have to make an animation. You can use the current visual novel style storytelling and use background sound effects together with visual effects to convey what's happening on screen. Games like N.E.P.S do an incredible job of using the player's imagination to convey emotions and events during a scene without resorting to intricate animations or huge walls of text. I may be just punching the air here, but I think that it's high time that black screen and white text take the high road. One thing the ZZZ dev team has managed to do very well is keep past agents relevant to the story in one way or another. They haven't been forgotten, and they show up often in future versions. Because of ZZZ's world design, it works in their favor, and it's not difficult to insert old agents into new storylines. A good example of this is Juyuan and Qingyi, two agents who show up very often due to the nature of their occupation. They're cops. Sometimes they get a lot of screen time, and sometimes they show up for just brief moments. Either way, it adds to the game's charm and plays to its strengths. I hope this trend continues into Season 2 as we reach the Waifei Peninsula. However, the same cannot be said for Parry and very soon, Eous. I feel like their presence is very important to the lore of ZZZ and the enjoyment of it. I touched on this subject earlier, but we've been seeing less and less of Parry, and now Eous is slowly starting to become irrelevant. It's great that the proxy can now enter the hollows on their own, but I just feel like they're moving too fast with this. Parry is so irrelevant to the current events taking place right now that I'm starting to wonder what the purpose was of introducing it in the first place. I don't know, give the proxy some kind of device, like a watch or something, that they can use to bring Parry with them into the hollow. I don't know, just do something with Parry, make it relevant again. And as for Eous, I think relegating him to the sidelines is a huge mistake. If the proxy is going to start entering the hollows on their own moving forward, then Eous needs a new role that is just as crucial to the main story. Demoting Eous to nothing more than furniture is going to be very disappointing. Hoyo, please don't allow Parry, Eous, or any of your Season 1 agents to fall into obscurity. Lastly, bring back Interlude requests. This was such a great and immersive feature that made it feel like you were actually taking on commissions from internet forums. Look at the recent story in the HDD for version 1.6 and 1.7. Why are there locked nodes? Why not use the Interlude requests feature to change these up into combat commissions? It's such a waste if you ask me. It was and still is a really good idea. I hope Interlude requests come back in Season 2. I've saved the best and most controversial opinions for last. It's time to talk about gacha mechanics. Please remember what I said in the middle of this video when taking my words into consideration. If Hoyo improves, everyone improves. So I'm gonna start off small and say that I think Hoyo should allow limited time A-rank W engines to be purchasable in Box Galaxy and should be included in the standard and limited banner rotation after some time has passed. It doesn't have to be right away, but it'd be great for new players who just jumped into the game to get the opportunity to get engines like Mercado Desire or Gilded Blossom. Alright, now we're going to talk about stuff that'll make people really angry. I believe it's time for limited banner pulls to be 100% guaranteed. I had thought about this for a long time, and I was initially just going to suggest having the W engine banner be 100% guaranteed. I eventually came to the conclusion that we deserve better. So with that said, I believe that every limited agent and W engine banner should be 100% guaranteed for your first attempt. Once you've received the agent and W engine, your subsequent pulls for Mindscapes and extra engine copies will be the usual gamble. 50-50s for the agents and 75-25s for W engines. If you lose the gamble, then the next one is guaranteed. Standard affair. Although this still calls into question the possibility of whether or not Hoyo is willing to implement such a system in Honkai Star Rail or Genshin Impact. The likelihood is probably non-existent. So whether or not ZZZ can set the precedent for others to follow is something I do not have the answer to. Regardless, Zenless Zone Zero is a good place to start. Their dev team have proven themselves to be receptive to feedback, and they are constantly listening to the community's woes. Implementing such a radical change will not only improve player perception, but players within the ZZZ community will no longer have to bond in the shared torture of unlucky pulls and lost 50-50s and 75-25s. I, for one, hate the feeling of having to spend money just because I lost a 50-50. I've done it once before with Juyuan, and every loss after that, I decided to just accept the outcome and try again some other time. I'm very fortunate to have won my polls for Bernice and Yanagi, but I feel nothing but fury for having lost Jane, Lighter, Evelyn, and Trigger. I spent my extra polls to get a guaranteed Evelyn that was originally meant to get Ching Yi. And even if I won my polls for Evelyn, I still had to gamble for Ching Yi. And as for Trigger, obviously I don't have her, and that really infuriates me. And now for the final change to the gacha mechanics I'd like to see implemented. It doesn't have to be right away, but after some time has passed, limited banner agents and W engines should be included in the standard banner rotation. It doesn't have to be right away. You can do it once a year with each new season. If you want to make an exception for Void Hunter type agents, then sure, I don't mind. Hell, since Season 2 is on the way, you can wait till Season 3 to drop all Season 1 agents into the standard banner. That way, we won't have to rely so heavily on rerun banners. But I also don't believe that this makes rerun banners irrelevant, because with more agents and engines added to the standard banner, your chances of sniping the agent you want decreases. You could still get Coleta for the 18th time.
Johnny, go inside, let's go!
It's a leader's duty to be on the front lines.
All I ever get from the standard banner nowadays is the restrained. What's important to me is that we get them into the standard banner somehow, even if there's an exception for Void Hunter class agents.
Oops, you caught me.
Lucky enough, at least you tried. Shame up, that's in yourself to find. No doubt, fate's on your side. You're choosing, so enjoy the ride. There are things you can't control. Focus Vaco, that's is wrong. Embrace the without. Stop, keep it going. That's the essence, life should go. Not just trials, battle stuff. Don't take enjoy simple stuff. Even when it's getting rough, take it easy, having fun is just enough. Yeah, shining golden signs.
Technical issues? I should be able to help.
Reach your phone away and take a flight. Lucky enough, at least you tried. Shame up, that's in yourself to find. No doubt, fate's on your side. You're choosing, so enjoy the ride. There are things you can't control. Focus Vaco, that's is wrong. Embrace the without. Stop, keep it going. That's the essence, life should go. Not just trials, battle stuff. Go take a choice, simple stuff. Even when it's getting rough, take it easy, having fun is just enough. Yeah, the shining golden signs.
Finally, we've reached the end of the video. There's one final message I would like to send to the ZZZ dev team at Wallpapers if any one of them is watching. First of all, thank you for all the hard work you put into the game. Despite the state of version 1.6 and 1.7, I'm still able to find enjoyment and purpose in the game. I am looking forward to all the surprises you guys have waiting for us in Season 2. Lastly, for all the suggestions, changes, and complaining that I did in this video, even if I think implementing all of them would be incredible, please don't just fold the knee and implement everything I have to say, save for the change to the gacha mechanics. I feel that one in particular is a change that needs to happen sooner rather than later. But for everything else, don't just listen to every single thing me or the community has to say. Don't turn Zenless Zone Zero into a game that tries to please everyone. If there's a change or a complaint I mention here that does not line up with your vision for the game, then don't do it. There's no need to alter character models whenever the community throws a fit. If that is part of your vision for the game, then keep it that way, for the sake of the game's integrity. There are times when changes prompted by the community are necessary, and there are times when you must put your foot down. For now, what that vision is, and whether or not it'll pay off, remains to be seen. But ZZZ will continue to have my support so long as I am able to find value in playing the game. That's it for the video, guys. This has been my longest video yet. Sorry I've been radio silent since my last video. Sometimes, real life just gets in the way. I did not originally intend for this video to be this long, but it turns out that I had so many thoughts on the matter. I imagine that this will be quite divisive, but I hope everyone understands that my suggestions are only because I want the best for everyone who plays gacha games. With that said, I do have another video coming out. It's actually much longer than this one, and it's going to be about Final Fantasy IX. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, then look out for that video. Anyways, if you liked what you saw, then don't forget to get out there, play some video games, and have yourself a grand old time. I'll see you guys in the next one.